I've lived in a few different countries in the world, and when I tell people that I'm from California, they think that my entire life is beaches and movie sets. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. And those misconceptions also extend to cycling. A lot of people that aren't from California think that cycling in California is a dream. But the reality is that it's fine. I give it like a 6 out of 10. It's not great. It's kind of dangerous for 26 out of the 28 years of my life. I lived in Sacramento here for most of my years. I lived in San Diego for 3-ish years, and I lived in San Francisco for a little bit. And I've been all over the place in California. I've biked all over the place in California, and most of it looks like this. It is not a paradise. Here is biking in California, expectations versus reality. Look at all these goodies in the street. You got bits of car, you got broken glass. Look at this wonderful bike lane where it's better to just bike on the sidewalk. When I was living in Michigan, a lot of people in Michigan thought that the roads in California must be really nice. Does your bike like broken glass? We've got plenty of broken glass just for you and your tires. But it really depends. A lot of the roads can be really rough. I like to ride my bike where there's as few cars as possible, and a lot of times that means out on the backcountry roads, which haven't been maintained, I think, since they were built. It could be over 100 years. We have potholes, we have crazy drivers that honk at us, we have dead animals. Heck, I even saw a dead platypus once. I don't know how he got there. Another misconception that I hear a lot is that California drivers are chill. They're not. Car brain is universal. And what I mean by car brain is that a lot of times when people get behind the wheel of a car, their brain just completely shuts off and they think that the entire world revolves around them and that everybody should get out of their way because they need to get to their next client's meeting on time. Like, if you are on a bike in California, people aren't going to respect you most of the time. It's pretty universal that I've seen in the United States. It's just that if you're on a bike, people hate you if they're in a car because they can bully you. Just because people think that Californians are chill. And yeah, we might be chiller in some regards compared to, say, like the East Coast, because people are so chill in California that they love throwing empty alcohol bottles into bike lanes. Don't you just love California? Once someone gets behind the wheel of a car, all bets are off. As far as I've seen, I've traveled a lot of places around the country. California drivers tend to drive pretty dang fast. Say like drivers on the East Coast, New York, Connecticut, what have you, they tend to be more aggressive, but California drivers drive the fastest. If you're not driving 10 to 20 miles over the speed limit, people will get pissed off at you and think you're driving slow. And if you get hit by a car, you're just gonna die automatically. Franklin Boulevard has a speed limit of 45 miles an hour. It is very regular to see people driving on this road at 60, 65 miles an hour. Highway speeds we're talking about. And look, there's houses right behind me. There's houses on this street, and people are driving that fast because they get incredibly impatient once they get behind the wheel of a car. And if you're on a bike, you are no longer a person to a driver's eyes in California. You are an obstacle. And even if people were chill, that doesn't automatically make them good drivers. They're not. People are pretty trash drivers in California, as far as I've seen. Have you heard of the California stop? That's where you don't stop completely at a stop sign and just roll through it. Even in my very own neighborhood, which is like a middle class to upper middle class neighborhood, I almost got killed by an Audi driving like 60 miles an hour, getting chased by a cop. Bonafide high-speed pursuit on the street that I frickin' live on. Drivers here are also distracted. Just last month, I was crossing a street at a pedestrian crosswalk with my friend Justin. We were riding our bikes. And I told him, Justin, stop, stop, stop. They're going. And a lady whizzed by in a Volkswagen SUV, straight up. She had a red light, staring at her crotch and just zooming by. If I didn't tell him that to stop, he might have died. It's a regular occurrence in California. People are not good drivers. People are not chill. Get that out of your head. So for the next 3 miles, I could bike through a forest, a hilly forest, a twisty, hilly forest with no shoulder where people will probably be speeding. I could also take this mountain bike path. Go on a bike tour, they said. It'll be fun, they said. You'll get such amazing content. It's an unforgettable experience. Well, guess what? An unforgettable experience isn't always a good thing. And if you look at a cycling publication about dream rides in the world, a lot of them will say Highway 1 in California because it's all along the coast. There's great biking infrastructure. It's really chill. It's one of the most beautiful rides in the world. I will agree with that last point. It is one of the most beautiful rides in the world. It's also extremely dangerous and overall not fun, especially if you're going during peak season. Look, there are sections of Highway 1. Look, I'm losing my voice because it's so freaking loud with all the cars here. There are sections of Highway 1 where there is great bike infrastructure and you have a beautiful seaside view. I've experienced it. I've ridden on Highway 1 and it is the most beautiful ride that I've ever done. It was also one that I don't really have any desire to do again. When there's a bike lane, when it's going through smaller towns, when it's not going through mountains where people have to pass you incredibly closely, it's great. But California's a really big place. Look at this map. It's freaking huge. Highway 1 spans the entire length of California. Not every single inch of that is going to have bike lanes. Not every single inch of it is going to be safe. In fact, most of my riding on Highway 1 has completely sucked ass. I'll just throw that out there. It doesn't matter if you have a seaside view, if you're afraid that you're going to die every second that you're riding your bike there. There's also lots of sections of Highway 1 where it's very narrow, like one lane each direction, twisty mountains, and people, remember how impatient drivers are in California, will be honking at you, laying into the horn. Or worse, when you're going in peak season, like spring or summer, there's going to be a lot of RVs. People's dads and uncles driving RVs on those really narrow lanes, trying to pass you. They'll pass you extremely closely. Sometimes they'll accidentally kill people on extremely narrow lanes. Just because people think that California is bike friendly doesn't mean it is. It's just like most of the other parts of the United States. It's built for cars. A lot of people also think that you'll constantly have seaside views in California. That is true if you're rich. Look at this map. If you want to live by the sea and bike by the sea, it's extremely expensive. Like, you have to be very rich to live in California, especially on the coast in California, which is what everyone thinks of when they think of California. But a lot of people, I would say most people, don't live by the ocean in California simply because we can't afford it. Like, the California that people think about is an extremely rich person's version of California. I live in Sacramento. We are at best, without traffic, there's always traffic though, we are a 2.5 hour drive from the ocean. There's no ocean here. We're not biking with any seaside views here. I am a normal middle-class person in California. That's going to be the case for most normal middle-class people. If you are extremely rich, you can have very nice riding in California. If you're some of the richest people in the United States or whatever other country you're from, visit California, ride your bike, stay in the extremely expensive hotels on the sea. You'll have a great time as long as you're skipping the parts of Highway 1 that are dog water. A lot of people also think that riding in California is just generally good. Like, it's fine. 6 out of 10. It's passable. I met a Fixie rider in Indianapolis. I told him I'm from California, and his reaction was, oh, must be nice. Maybe it's a little nicer than Indianapolis. Maybe it's comparable to Indianapolis. I haven't ridden there, but it really depends on what city you're in and even what neighborhood you're in. California's a huge freaking state. Look at this map. Not everywhere in California. Let's let the fire truck pass. bro, you need earplugs to ride here. Oh my gosh. Not everywhere in California is going to be the same. There's a huge disparity between the richest in California and even just the average in California, me, okay? Let alone the poorest people in California. There's good pockets of California to ride in. There's terrible pockets of California to ride in. Even just in Sacramento, I try not to ride through South Sacramento. I used to live in South Sacramento, and if you are from Sacramento, you know what I'm talking about, because it's kind of sketchy. High crime rates. I used to live there every night. My roommates and I would play. Are those fireworks or gunshots? You hear sirens all the time. You see people walking around with stolen wheels and frame sets all the time. I know people that have gotten their bikes stolen in South Sacramento, but other parts of Sacramento, like the American River Trail, some of the best biking that California has to offer. And these places are just like 3 miles apart from each other. It really depends, not just on the city, but where, what neighborhood, what street you live on. People also think that California has a perfect weather because they always see, you know, beaches in Hollywood movies. Again, look at the map of California. California is freaking huge. Northern California is extremely different from Southern California. Hell, even in just Southern California, where I used to live, in a 4-hour drive, you could go from the San Francisco Bay Area, where it's pretty mild, mid-60s year-round, to here in Sacramento, where it could be below freezing in the winter to above 110, 120 degrees in the summer. And then you could go up to mountains in Tahoe, where they have world-class ski resorts. It's extremely different. And it's hard to generalize when people say, oh, biking in California must be nice. What part of California are you talking about? Oh, you must have great weather in California. Well, what part of California? What time of year? What time of day even? Even San Diego, a town that's world renowned for being a beach town, being like surfer vibe, it has gray skies in the morning for like half of the year. Parts of California can be 10 out of 10 of cycling. It can be most fun, the most memorable, the most incredible bucket list cycling. Yes, but also it could be some of the worst cycling possible. It could take your life. So before you book a trip to go on an epic bike tour in California, temper your expectations. It can be great, it can be terrible. I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. But something that's always great is this message from our sponsor, Wabi Cycles. My Wabi Special is the most fun bike that I've ever ridden. The way Wabi's bikes are designed is very holistic. They look at every single thing to make sure that it gives you the best ride quality for your money as possible. Wabi's fixed gear and single speed bikes are constructed with a mostly road-like geometry that's slightly more aggressive for the preferences of us fixed gear riders, because most of us that are buying fixed gear bikes are riding them on the street anyway. And they help to bring the ride quality to life with very lively, supple Reynolds 725 or Columbus Spirit tubing. The way that these tube sets flex, they plane really nicely where it feels like the bike is giving in, it's pliable, but still springing back and giving you a responsive ride quality. Because it is steel, it's durable, it can take a beating, it can be locked up, it can be crashed. I have crashed these multiple times before, and they're totally fine. It's the most fun, most reliable daily bike that I've ever ridden. If you're interested in getting one for yourself, be sure to check out Wabi Cycles, linked in the description. And Fixie famous shoutouts to David K, Salvador Lombroso, Julian Corona, Brandon Black, Brent David, Mario Perez, Ted Onchi, and Brakeless.Illini for helping to make these fixed gear videos possible through their support on Patreon. And remember that life is short, but don't make it shorter. So be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous. I was done shooting, and I just came to see these turkeys. And lo and behold, I'm standing in broken glass. Thank you, California.